Welcome to the Backpacking Podcast, along with Jeremiah Stringer, John Kelly here, and we are brought to you by Outdoor Vitals, makers of Performance First ultralight gear. Jeremiah, we got a pretty sweet deal going on with Outdoor Vitals right now. You want to tell everybody about it?
Yes, exclusive link in the description. Check out the perfect jacket for the shoulder seasons, the Vario. And if you want to get $50 off, just click through that exclusive link. This is the lightest weight insulated synthetic jacket. You're going to absolutely love it. Check it out with the pockets, with the thumb holes, outdoorvitals.com.
Yeah, it's a fantastic jacket. I wore it this whole past weekend, Jeremiah. It was actually my jacket of choice on a little trip that you and myself and a bunch of other guys all went on together. As a matter of fact, one of those guys is getting ready to join us right now. A guy by the name of Mr. Jeremy Rodeffer. Sorry. I always get his name right until now. So I'm going to put him into the room while we're sitting here talking. But yeah, this was a heck of a trip, man. Heck of a trip.
Well, I was going to lead off with John Cena doing a hill turn, but I think that we're going to start off with the trip over the weekend.
Yes, we are.
There he is.
And we lost him, and we're going to get him back right now, Jeremiah. There he is. There he is. The king of off-roading himself from Indiana, the Bronco bustin' mastermind behind the trip that we just went on this weekend, Mr. Jeremy Rodeffer. How are you doing?
I think he says he can't hear you.
He says he can't hear us.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, thanks for popping in, Jeremy. He looks great.
Good. He looks good. Oh,
Wish that you could hear us.
I wish you could hear us too. But, you know, that's all right. We'll be okay. For some reason, though, I'm bigger than you now.
What's the deal with that?
We'll fix it. See how easy that is? It's called the magic of production. The magic of production. So,
excuse me.
So, Jeremy, let's talk a little bit, or Jeremiah. Now I'm confused. Your names sound too much alike. Let's talk a little bit about this trip because, man, it was a good time.
Yeah, dude. You were there all day Friday, and I didn't get to come until after work Friday. I arrived like around dusk, and I had to tell you, when I arrived, I saw a lot of tents set up. There's a bunch of you guys already there, and I said, I'm going to have to put my hammock up. And they said, uh-oh, there's no hammock camping here. I said, no, well, nobody told me that. He said, yeah, we had a little spot picked out, but the road is so wet that you can't drive back there.
Right,
so
right.
I had to go get permission from the owner of the campground. We stayed at Callie's Campground was the name of it. Just out, I guess it's technically just outside Red River Gorge. But, yeah, I just talked to Mike, and he said he literally got kicked out of there for trying to put up his hammock. I said, all right, bro, what am I supposed to do?
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do right now. Look who's joined us, and he says he can hear us now.
I can't hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, dude. How's it going?
Good. Sorry. Apparently, I have to set my phone on speakerphone for it to come through.
Oh, okay. Well, I know you've got a limited amount of time because you're actually coaching girls basketball today.
Yeah. You would think the season would be over by now, right?
Man. We're in March Madness right now, man. March Madness. Yes. This is the crazy time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thanks for putting everything together for this trip. And by the way, the wine, my wife absolutely loved it. We popped a bottle yesterday, so I appreciate you too.
Yeah, that's an Indiana favorite, 2E's. So I figured you could probably use that one. So I would say I was not advertising, but maybe I was.
Well, delicious table wine. Thank you. And also, like I said, thanks for setting everything up, dude. You had a big turnout of friends that and acquaintances, I guess you would say now, people that you didn't know. But what inspired you wanting to get out for this trip, dude? You seemed like you were out there for 2 weeks before we even arrived.
I needed a break, man. That was my first time out since like the Colorado trip that I had with David. So I mean, it just again the opportunity to coach in middle school. My daughter's in middle school, and I've really enjoyed it. I mean, it's just been a good time, and if I kind of go into something, I kind of go all in. So it's like any extra time I've had, I wanted to try to help the girls get better and try to put some extra time towards them. But yeah, I was definitely ready for some free time. So it was nice to get out there and camp and hang out at camp by myself and just wait on you guys. And it turned out to be probably one of the best groups I think I've ever been a part of. I mean, it was so much fun.
It was a blast. And Bridget wants to let you know that it was delicious.
Awesome, Bridget. I'm glad you like it.
Now, one of the things that if you ever go on a trip with Jeremy Rodeffer, Mr. All Things Outdoors, if you go out on a trip with him, one of the things you'll learn really quick is he does not know how to sit still. So I schemed on this trip to make sure that at least for a portion of this trip, Jeremy wasn't going to be doing much. And so the first night, I told Jeremy, you guys are letting me go out here and ride in your fancy vehicles that cost $40,000 and $50,000. So the one thing I want to do for you is I want to cook. And so we actually have video that David Gray gave me of what that looked like that night.
I know. I'm kind of. These guys have kind of turned me on to like the real food.
Yeah.
Like Mountain House just doesn't quite do it anymore.
No, Mountain House is it's not as good, that's for sure.
What you need is a little smell-o-vision for that. Oh, that's a blackstone. Oh, yeah, that is a portable blackstone. That is cool.
I can fold it down and lay it flat in the back of a truck. So, pepper's in there. Now we can have fun.
I dare say that looks like.
So, anyways,
That's all.
So that was what Jeremiah. I think you guys got there as it was being cooked, weren't you? Isn't that what about the time you guys showed up?
We pulled up and you were dicing up peppers and onions. I said, okay, this man is cooking. Then I disappeared for a little while and I came back and you said, there's 2 fajitas left. If y'all want one.
Yep. And I think I have video of you eating that fajita.
Can confirm the fajitas are amazing. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. So, no, it was just good for once. And I remember, Jeremy, you looking at me going, I don't know what to do right now. I didn't have to do anything tonight.
Luckily, we had to build a bridge the next day.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. That is true. We did. I cannot. Okay, so what a lot of people may not realize is this trip, I'm actually doing a trip video from this. And so that's weird because I haven't done a trip video in years probably. But this was too much fun. And I think I ended up with over 400 clips of video for this trip. So I've got a lot to go through and get it ready. But one of the things that we did on this trip was we, of course, went over these crazy areas and stuff. One of the things that I told somebody that I learned from you during this trip is that there's 3 parts to overlanding or to off-roading. One is the off-roading, the riding along, that kind of thing. You do that. The second part is you're doing basically search and rescue, trying to keep people from being stuck out in the outdoors. And then the third thing you learn is that you're going to be doing some landscaping. And I actually may have a clip of that if you want to see it.
Oh, I would like to see that. I would like to see that.
Hey, David.
Hey, never read.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Where are you guys at? What site are you in?
I'm at the green tent, and John has got the orange tent with the white truck. Yeah.
So I think I'm here. Okay. Yeah, because the road's blocked. Go beyond that.
Yeah. It's so wet. And
Okay, so
soft.
this section right here is where it gets fun.
Sorry, navigating a tree here.
Navigating a tree.
Whew. That is close. Oh, dang. Yeah.
And now the tree is stuck to the Bronco.
All right, I see where you guys are. So
Yeah, there was like no room on the right. I mean, like
No.
you couldn't get over anymore. That was kind of a rough spot.
And then I don't know what you're doing at this point because I'm trying to talk to David because he's trying to figure out where to park because he just got there. And so I'm talking to him, and I didn't know what you were doing behind me the whole time.
Tent that I have.
So I'm talking
I
to
was lifting
David.
up the tree.
Massive orange tent.
And so now I'm thinking, I'm going to get out of this vehicle. I'm going to walk out there. We're going to talk. But then out of nowhere, this is where it gets funny for me because I'm sitting here and I'm talking to David, and all of a sudden, unbeknownst to me, someone else is getting in the vehicle to drive it. And it's Gary.
It's
I didn't even
teamwork,
know where he
man.
came from. All of a sudden, he's in there and he's driving. I'm like, oh. So I shut the door. And then you held the tree up while he drove forward and got your car out from under, or you got your Bronco out from underneath it.
Yeah, it's it is a teamwork. It's a total team effort. So it takes a village, right?
Oh my gosh, it was so fun, man. That was so fun. And like I said, I had no idea that Gary was coming.
Yeah, so he was so much fun to watch in that 1954 Navy Jeep.
Oh yeah.
My goodness, that guy. I mean, there was parts and I mean, I've got front rear lockers. I've got a tricked out suspension. It's the lift and 37-inch tires. I mean, I can almost fit a 5-gallon bucket under my Bronco. He has a stock Navy Jeep from 1954 that he just rebuilds with with the military parts. And he had an easier time than I did on many of the obstacles. It was absolutely incredible.
Oh, he was a beast.
So,
I mean, I don't have time to show every clip because there's a lot of them. But I remember we were going through a creek, and that water was up above his door, or up above the bottom of his door. But it was like it didn't matter. Like everything he did, he just took everything better than everybody else. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I know he's actually fairly experienced and he's a fun guy to have around just because he's not afraid to take that Jeep anywhere. And then you just wonder, I mean, part of the excitement in doing this stuff is finding what the limits are. Like I do a lot of it in 2-wheel drive, not just hey, I'm in 2-wheel drive, but
yeah, you do.
Well, but the reason for that is I want to see how far I can go in 2-wheel drive because I know I've always got 4-wheel drive to get me out, and then you have a little trouble, then you use maybe another level of traction that you might have. So, but he's just one and done. You put it in drive and go, and he just figures it out. So a great guy to have on these trips.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was fun because it was like you kept saying throughout the whole thing was you were talking to these other guys and you're going, hey, these are my backpacking friends that are off-roading with us,
Yeah.
And it was just really funny because they're all going, wait a second, these guys all backpack? And you're like, yeah. And it was just funny, like, because the look on their faces, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but every time you say it, they just kind of get a weird look like, why are they here?
Yeah.
Like, not a bad way, but you know what I mean.
No. Well, it's funny because I use the analogy kind of like what you guys use. When you guys take someone out to Hanson's Point for the first time, I mean, there's just a joy you get in showing somebody that view for the first time because they get excited. It just kind of fills your heart, right? Mm-hmm. So if you could have seen John's face, like the second that we got into the dirt in the first obstacle, that was like my Hanson's Point. I mean, he was so excited. It was hilarious.
Oh, and you put it on Instagram. So if anybody wants to see it, go over to the All Things Outdoors Instagram and check it out because it's on there and it's hilarious. Like my mouth is wide open.
Yeah. Well, and I know Jeremiah, like he's done this several times now. And I'm sure probably for you, there's still parts that surprise you. Like, I mean, some of those trails that we've done before, like even, I don't think he was with us this time, but we've done Pumpkin Hollow and Spas Creek a few times now. But the other fun part about this is it's always different. I mean, you get a bunch of rain, you get a winter, you get a summer. I mean, you get side-by-sides tearing it up. It's new obstacles every single time. I didn't even recognize Pumpkin Hollow, and I've been on it like 4 or 5 times. It looked completely different this time.
Yeah, the trees too. Like John was talking about the landscaping.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I know, like John said, I know you got limited time. Before we get you out of here, got a couple of comments on here. Jeff Peters saying hello and asking, is this now the Overlanding podcast? This episode, it is pretty heavy on the off-roading, but Jeremy, what we were doing, is it technically overlanding? Is there a difference between like camping and overlanding and off-roading? What's the deal? Like there's a difference between hiking and backpacking, but you hike while you're backpacking. So,
well, yeah, the differences would be similar. So if you're off-roading, then you're more like the day, going out, driving on the trail, maybe coming back to base camp. When you're overlanding, the definition as I understand it would be like if I'm traveling all across Colorado for a week's time. that would be more of the overlanding aspect of it.
Kind
If
of
I'm
like
going
almost
in,
like is it almost like you're driving to a campsite, like, but like
Yeah.
a remote campsite, not
Yeah.
necessarily like campground, but an actual like campsite area.
right?
Is that
Well,
more
or
the
just
overlanding thing?
yeah, just posting up in a different spot every time,
Yeah.
like we kind of just base camped, which, Cali's campground is really, really cool. I mean, even if you want to do some hiking, it's a really good location. There's tons of good trails all over the place. Especially if you want to do it with your family, it's a lot easier for them. But the best thing about it is it's like ground zero for the Daniel Boone Byway. You can hit the northern parts, the southern parts, and not have to worry about packing up and going to a different section. So Cali's is just a really, really cool campground, and it actually is it's kind of becoming the Daniel Boone Byway hub. Honestly, actually, it probably already is.
Yeah.
But there's really not much difference if you think about the typical overlander and backpacker, other than the fact that one's driving and one's not. I mean, they
Yeah.
have the same love of the outdoors. They have the same love of the backcountry. They have the same love of not leaving your trash behind and cleaning things up. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between the two groups, and I think honestly that's why I'm having such a good time putting them together.
Yeah, well, and it's funny too because we did part of the Sheltowee Trace, like miles
Yeah.
of the Sheltowee Trace.
Yeah.
And I remember hiking a lot of those areas and remembering how much I hate off-roaders. Because because the trail was so chewed up from all the vehicles, but then now
Yeah.
I'm riding in those vehicles and having the time of my life. And now, do I feel guilty about thinking bad of them back then? No, but at the same time, I now understand why. And for
Yeah.
that fact, I don't find myself nearly as upset. But I mean, it was definitely different than anything I'd done before.
Yeah, I would say, most people see some of those deep ruts, and you never get the true visual from a camera. Like you'll see it on
No.
camera, and then when you look at it in person, you're like, oh, this is way worse than what I seen on YouTube. I mean, you may be looking at a 4-foot rut on one side. I mean, I think the most off camber we got, I mean, at one point we were probably 23, 24 degrees on our side, and it's like I'm kind
Yeah.
of like looking down at the dirt, and then you go and review the camera, you're like, well, that doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah,
Right.
it's one of those things where you could literally reach, and this is not a joke. We were sideways so far, I could reach out with my hand and touch the ground. Like straight out, not like at an angle, but like straight out, and I was touching the ground at one point. It was crazy.
That's usually the most uncomfortable ones, especially when it's muddy.
Yeah, I was just glad it wasn't my vehicle.
One day you get
It
that
wasn't
Tacoma
mine. I
or
don't know
that
about
Bronco or that Jeep.
Yeah, we'll see about that one.
Well, Jeremy, you're organizing all kinds of stuff. I think you have something going on coming up in Indiana. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. The very last weekend of April, I think April 28th, that whole weekend, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's actually going to be a big outdoor meetup. It's a lot of fun. We'll have people from all over the place that show up. I think we had close to 65 people show up to the last one. It keeps growing every year. But whether you're overlander, backpacker, van camper, whatever it is, if you love the outdoors, we have a meetup at Charles C. Deem at the Blackwell Horse Camp. And there will be chili dogs. There'll be a carry-in.
Yeah, there will be.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I might be organizing some type of giveaway. I know Chris did a lot of that in the past.
Are you gonna have another hammock making contest? That's my question. Because when I went,
Oh, there'll
I
be
guess
something.
a year and a half ago, there was a hammock contest where we made a hammock.
Yeah, there'll be some type of competition between Chris and Carlson. That's a given. That's an
Yeah,
annual now, every single time. So
Yeah, well,
we'll
now
have
that you're
some type
officially a member of their
competition
podcast, right? You're officially a member of their podcast.
Yeah, part time. I think we're a part time
Part-time.
podcast.
There you go.
I just got one thing to say, Jeremy.
Uh-huh.
I really appreciate the drone. I'd like to thank you, and I'll let you play with it sometime. But for those that don't know, I actually was the absolute last person to leave the campsite. And when you're the last person to leave the campsite, any campsite, there's good and bad. The bad is you have to make sure everything's cleaned up because now you're the responsible one. But
But make sure the fire's put out. You got trash, everything.
Yeah, but the best part is you have the spoils of war. And my spoils.
That's a great way to put that.
What is this? A DJI drone?
Yeah, it's a DJI Mini. DJI Mini
Okay.
too. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah. Can I borrow that when I go back to Colorado? Would you care if I borrow it?
It was just sitting on the picnic table, and I sent in this group text, "Hey, did anybody leave it, or who left it?" I knew somebody left it. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's expensive, but I was like, in one of the group texts, "Hey, who left this on the table?" And then I sent a picture, and then I looked like 30 minutes later, and the text went through, but the picture didn't, and so everybody.
I knew who it was
"Guess
immediately.
what?"
I knew who
you
it was
knew?
immediately. And you know what the sad part is? Poor Jeremy had a rough weekend, okay?
Yeah.
that's-
He also lost a GoPro on this
I
trip.
did lose a GoPro.
So he almost lost a GoPro and a drone in the same trip.
Yeah.
So you saved the day for this guy. I'm just saying. You saved the day.
We'll
Yeah.
get it, man. No big deal. We'll get it to you. Don't worry.
Yeah, no worries, man. It's in good hands. I know that.
Oh, wait a
Mike
second.
Durbin just said, wait, that was my drone. And any hot chili that was left.
Yeah. Well, I think I sent him home with some. Him and John both.
Oh, man, Mike is a good dude, man. And his Jeep,
Oh,
that thing's
Solid.
a beast, dude. That thing is a beast.
Yep.
For
Yep.
sure.
If-
Hey,
Andy,
Devin Ashby just said that we were talking about the trails because that's half the trails in Moab. So apparently he gets a lot of those trails out where he is as well.
Yeah, so funny thing about the byway, if people don't know, it's actually starting to be considered the Moab of the East. When I first did it, 2022 January, I think well, you were with me, Jeremiah. You were on the very first trip of me going off road in that thing. Yeah, it was like I think we had 80 miles of trail for the byway. Now we're like 580 plus miles of trail at this point, so it keeps growing like crazy. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, Jeff
Just to
Peters
give
wanted to know if
everybody-
there's any paint left on the Bronco.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It got
Yeah,
pinstripe though, didn't it?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Most of it buffed out.
Oh, that's cool.
Like I was really surprised.
Yeah, because we had some scrapes. I definitely heard them.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that your cover from that tree that we showed in the video, there wasn't more damage from that.
That was a little bit of a concern. Yeah, that was a little bit of a concern. So luckily it wasn't too heavy. I couldn't at least get it pulled off the top and scoot through it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was crazy.
Well, hey, before
But-
you get off of here, do
Mhm.
me a favor. Tell
Yeah.
people that are into backpacking, why would this be a good alternative to backpacking from time to time as opposed to just backpacking all the time?
Okay, well, there's a couple different reasons. One, if you get older and it starts to get more difficult, this is a great option to be able to get out and see the backcountry, or maybe something physically is challenging you from hiking. You can at least still get out, enjoy the woods. It's exactly like backpacking. And then the other part of that is you get to see more. Like for me, like I have this crazy obsession with wanting to see as much as humanly possible in a short amount of time. Like I mean, normally a 5-6 hour day seems like a lifetime in overlanding. Like you wouldn't believe how exhausting it actually could be by the time it's all said and done, mentally and sometimes physically if you're having to do the landscaping. But I think, I go 12 hours just because I want to see what's over the next hill, and
Right.
then you think about the backpacking aspect of it. You got to plan to park by the, camp out by the water or whatever. You have to plan your stops very specifically. Overlanding, you got all that, or off-roading, you got all that. So you can stop wherever you want and keep going as long as you want. So you get the option of seeing a lot more of this beautiful country than what you would as a hiker.
Yeah, and going
I
up hills
still
is a lot
encourage both.
easier. Going up hills is a
Yeah.
lot easier. I did figure that one out, so that was nice.
Oh yeah.
Well, Jeremy,
So-
it was a pleasure. I appreciate you popping in here and giving us a little bit of play-by-play of the trip. Had a fun time with you. Can't wait for the next one, man. I'll let you get back to coaching those basketball players up, man.
All right, man. Got to make some middle schoolers run. So
That's right. If they're not crying, you're not doing your job.
that's right. I don't know. They're pretty tough. I don't know. They about have me in tears a couple times. They scare me sometimes.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. We'll take it easy. We'll see you later.
All right. See you guys.
See you, buddy. I love that guy to death, man. He is awesome.
Yeah, dude. And that's so, well, it's just a very kind thing of him to do, to organize that. And a lot of people that were on that trip I've been backpacking with in the past. I mean, even Mitch, he got that Jeep and everything was stock pretty much. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
you don't have to spend like $75,000 on, some tricked out rig to drive it through the woods. But
You just have to be willing to break it.
well,
that's real. I've learned that you got to really that's why he goes, "Oh, wait till you get." I'm like, I don't, maybe not so much. Like I saw what those vehicles have to go through and what they do, and I heard some of them hitting because there were a few spots where they're coming across rocks, and the back end would drop, and you'd hear the back end of that vehicle hit a rock, and I'm going, if they did it to my truck, the back bumper would just fall off.
Dude, one time I was riding with Mike, and we come down on a spot exactly like you're describing, and then the back bumper, you can just hear it just smack.
Yeah.
It's all thud, no suspension. It's just landing on a rock. But we got out. I was like, dude, do you hear that? It was going I was like, we had to have just cut a tire there because, I mean, some of those rocks are pretty nasty.
Yeah, they are. They're gnarly.
And you're driving over them with these big tires. And I was like, dude, I think you got a pretty good leak. We got out, and I may have already told you this, but the muffler was smashed shut, just the end of it. And so it was whistling out of it. Sounded just like a tire that you'd stuck a knife in.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And we had to bend it open with a knife. And then whenever he said he got home, he took a saw and cut a few inches off of it. But
man. Well, and then Sean R says, if you aren't scraping your paint, you aren't having enough fun.
Bro, they get out there and they scrape the paint. I always would see these Jeep Cherokees driving around town, no doors, and they're jacked up with big old tires. And I'm like, what are these people doing? And then you get out there and you're like, oh, this is really fun. It's kind of like backpacking, but no walking.
Hey, our friend from the AT, Chris Aconi's on here right now from Franklin, North Carolina.
Oh wow, boy,
how we doing, man?
Him, huh?
Yeah,
Chris,
he does.
How many miles you got under your belt? I assume that you are going no-bow, considering the season.
Yeah.
How many miles is that to Franklin? I'm curious to hear about the trail.
I am too. Pizza Ninja asked if you missed the poop stories. You did not. But Devin actually said overlanding and off-roading are butthole pucker stories, not poop stories. Which he's not wrong. I mean, there were a few times, Jeremiah, we were going down and I saw the thing that we had to go through. And I'm just going, I don't know how this vehicle's going to pull this off. So, Chris is on a 0 right now. He's doing resupply.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Very cool. Very cool.
Dude, you talking about butt puckering moments? We were out there with the whole crew where you could pull each other out and stuff.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I took Bridget out there, and it was just me. Nobody else. Nobody to bail you out. If something broke down.
What, you took your truck out on that?
No, I'd borrowed Mike's Jeep. It was a different Jeep that he had.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I was thinking, man, Bridget's like 7 or 8 months pregnant right now. We could hit a bump, and she goes.
You went out just the two of you?
Just the two of us on a date.
Oh, man.
What's that place? You remember when you and I were going to the gorge, mile 110? Nice. Yeah, he's cranking them out.
Mile 110. That's awesome.
You remember whenever you and I went, we were going to the gorge, but before we stopped and got food, and we went in this little place in Stanton, and they did not accept anything but cat.
That little like mom and pop restaurant.
I can't remember what it's called, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Bridget and I went there beforehand, and they do accept card now. And then we headed out to the woods, and I said, "What, Lofax, is this thing on?" It sure is. Here we are. I'm Brian Winburn. What up, guys? Hey, the chat's starting to fill up, baby.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I was like, man, going down some of that stuff, and you're just going to flomp down. You know that you just got to hit it and pedal to the metal. You're like, man, if I break something, it's just me and this 8-month pregnant chick. And
you don't want to pop that baby out too soon, man.
No. And Mike showed me how to use the winch and stuff. He's got a remote control where you can get out and hook it up, and then in the vehicle and just press a button and it drags you.
And that's a major story from this trip too. We had to winch somebody out, and Jeremy's winch just stopped working halfway after getting the rope out of it. So I mean, when I say it just stopped. It wouldn't go any further. And he actually couldn't even winch it back into the vehicle. He had to wrap it around a mirror and then drop the rest in the passenger seat where I was sitting.
I saw that, man. I said, it was just a cherry on top after losing the GoPro. The winch breaks, then he leaves his drone.
Yep.
It's a tough time out there for Jeremy, but I think all in all, man, it worked out well for him. He had a good time the whole weekend.
Oh yeah. So Bridget said it was one of the favorite things you guys ever did. So that's really cool.
Yeah, well, she's in luck. Mike said that we can borrow his bigger, nicer Go Anywhere Jeep. So
whoa, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, Pizza Ninja wants to know: did your kid grow a beard yet? Has Jeremiah Jr. got his beard?
He does. It hasn't grown in yet, but stay tuned for the end of the episode for when we talk about poop, because there is news coming.
Yeah, the 5 o'clock shadow is for real though. Like it's really starting to show on him. So
it's working its way in.
Have you seen? Okay, this has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, but have you ever seen those pictures of babies with teeth, like where people put teeth on babies in pictures?
I can imagine, but I've never seen it.
Oh man, I'm not gonna pull them up right now, but man, if you ever get a chance to see these pictures of babies, like people are like doing like Photoshop stuff with them, right?
Yeah.
And it's pictures of babies with teeth. Man, I just need to find them because it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. But and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Yeah. So hey, so the weather this weekend.
Oh, dude.
It was windy, and we were talking about in talking about that, I'm going to show you what my tent looked like because of the wind. I took my Palace with me. So I took the big Gazelle tent with me, the 2-room monster of a tent, just because I could, because we were off-roading and it was base camping, so I didn't have to worry about much. But check this out. Smushed. Oh, this is all Jeremy's fault. As I pull each one of these out, Jeremy's fault number 1. Jeremy's fault number 2. Oh. Oh, this one's all kinds of stuck. Ugh. I mean, for real. Like, come on, Jeremy. Can't you pick a better weekend to do this? So now, all things considered, Jeremy knew I was doing that. I was messing with him at the time. So, but man, the weather was crazy. I'm talking wind gusts of over 35 miles an hour. Sustained winds around 20 at times. It was just absolutely crazy. I could show video just the whole rest of the hour about the wind, but it was crazy. And what was happening was Kentucky had abnormally warm weather all week. And it was jumping back down to February weather over the weekend. So by the time Sunday rolled around and you guys got up, it was in the teens. So literally, I got there, it was right about 65 degrees on Friday. Sunday morning, it was in the teens. And so there was this major wind coming through, bringing in that cold weather. And man, it was just crazy. The first night, Friday night, I think Mitch had brought a hammock stand. And was actually going to use a hammock stand, but his hammock stand got blown over. And it wasn't going to stay up unless he stayed in the hammock. But even if he was in the hammock, it was still probably going to sway all over the place the whole time.
Yeah, dude, I was standing there next to the fire, and I don't know, it's super funny anyway, but you have a group of like a dozen guys, may have been some adult beverages involved, and it's late at night, 30-mile-per-hour winds. Mitch's hammock just toppled over, and then we see like the front of your tent just taking lift off.
Well, it was the tarp. Yeah, the tarp just took off. Like it's got these little stays that hold it in place, and both of them came loose, and the tarp is halfway back the tent. And so I hear it, so I come running out. You guys are all there. We got them tied up and staked down. And I didn't have that problem again until later. But then about a half hour after you guys left, I had the my Blackstone out there to cook on. Mm-hmm. Well, I had the cover over it. It blew the cover off. Then after it blew off the cover, it blew off the lid to the Blackstone. I heard this crashing noise. And so at this point, I'm down to my skivvies and I'm not walking outside in that because it's a campground and there actually were children nearby. So I was like, I can't do that. So I'm getting dressed, and about that time I hear Jeremy go, "Dude, the lid came off your grill."
Oh,
And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I got it for you." And he put it back on and put the cover back. By the time I got out, he was buckling up the cover and making sure it was back on and everything. But yeah, it blew the cover off of my grill. That's how crazy the wind was.
well, dude, after you got your tent situated and guy lines fixed and everything, I tucked my tail between my legs and went over to my hammock to endure this wind. I said, worst comes to worst, I'm sleeping in the truck. And it woke me up twice, I think, the wind.
Yeah.
I was in, dude, I had a 13-foot tarp that I was like, if I don't have this thing totally hunkered down, this thing is going to be a sail. And I'm going to rip these 2 trees out of the ground. I'm going to go for a ride here. So I got up the next morning, and I can't remember who asked, but they were outside the hammock, and I was like getting up, and I crawled out, and they're like, "Man, how did you get out from under this tarp? Did you have to crawl in and out?" And I was like, "Dude, I just thought if I didn't have it real close to the ground, I wasn't going to get coverage." It wasn't even that cold, but
No, what the cold wasn't the problem. I think it got down into like the 40s, maybe the high 30s.
yeah. But the next night, dude,
I was gone by that point.
I'll tell you what happened. We had all these vehicles, several vehicles, and we got to the end of the trail, and everybody's getting pretty tired. Jeremy mentioned this, that it does take a toll on you. Think about the last time you took an 8-hour road trip. Okay,
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, now imagine that road trip was not in like a regular car that you're just driving down the interstate. Imagine that you're in an arena in a monster truck and just getting shaken to death, jumping over obstacles.
Right.
Pizza Ninja says, "I'm envisioning Looney Tunes style animation with these tails." You should, because that's basically what happened. You're shaking and bumped. You literally feel like you got done fighting. Whenever you wake up the next morning, you're like, "Man, I felt like I got in a fight yesterday." You've been holding on to the old crap handle the whole time. You got bars in front of you, behind you that you're holding on to. You're getting in and out all day. You're cutting trees. Like, I don't even think I got to tell you this, but a bunch of you all went on back to the campsite, said your goodbyes and all that. And a couple of us kept going and finished the loop. And
it took a lot longer than you guys thought it would, because we stuck around for a while waiting for you all.
Yeah, I had no idea how long it was going to take, but we had to cut like 2 or 3 trees because there was no tracks. Whenever we were going, it was like untouched since the last set of storms. And so we got all that wind the night before.
So you just made a lot of people happy by clearing off the trail for them.
Well, they'll be happy there was a set of tracks through there and all them trees are cut. That's for sure. But
Yep.
we made it back. And let's see, Drooper, what's up, fellas? Thanks for answering my question last week. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, we made it back, and everybody was gone. There's a couple people left, and I was like, "Where'd everybody go?" And they said, "Well, it's supposed to be like 20 degrees tonight, and if it's going to be windy again, 20 degrees, why not sleep in your own bed?" And
yeah, I live less than an hour from that campground, and so I was just like, "Why am I sleeping in a tent when the wind's going to blow like that all night? I'm not going to sleep, and I'm going to wake up and it's going to be 15 degrees out. That doesn't make any sense." So I packed up my stuff. I was trying to wait for you guys, but then it started getting cold. And you and I talked about this before we started, but I had started getting sick on Friday night. And by the time I got home on Saturday, I was running a fever of about 100. And so it was a good thing I went home. Not just because it was freezing cold, but because I was sick as a dog and didn't realize it.
Yeah, you don't need to be out there making everybody sick. And with the communal meal style that we were doing, we were prone to it. Y'all headed out, but we had ATOD chili dogs, and I done a blind taste. Well, Jason, Mr. Backpacking with Jason, sir, he brought his own version of the ATOD chili dogs. I think he and Jeremy are the only ones with the magic formula. So one of the things in the magic formula are these peppers that are in some kind of sauce, adobe sauce or something.
Adobo.
So I never, besides the ATOT chili dogs, I don't know anything about that, but I tasted them and they scooped them both on Doritos. And I said, okay, let me try them. They said, here's A, here's B. I tried A. Yeah, I could taste hints of mustard seed in there. Nice and sweet. I tasted chip B with the ATOT sauce on it. Sweet. Oh, very spicy. Man, this has got a lot of kick to it. I like it. My stomach doesn't love spicy, but man, the mouth pleasure I get from it sometimes is worth it. So they said, which one, A or B? And I said, I think I'm going to have to go with A, the sweeter one. And Jeremy's like, yeah. And I was like, no, I'm not saying it's better. I can't have a bunch of this spicy. So I ended up actually putting the spicy on my chili dog and dipping the sweet with the Doritos. But I said, why is this so much spicier? You all are using the same formula. Jason, you got your formula from Jeremy. And Jason's like, I don't know I don't know what's making it so spicy. And I was like, is there peppers in here? And I was like, maybe that's it. Jason's like, yeah, there's peppers. And I was like, it's the jalapeno peppers. And he says, no, it's not jalapeno. It's whatever kind of peppers in the adobo or whatever you said. And I said, well, Jeremy, how many did you use? He said, well, I diced up maybe part of one, put a little juice in there. And I was like, what about you, Jason? He said, I done half the can. And I was like, that's the spice. I said, Jason, mystery solved, bro. That's why this is so spicy. I'm getting a stomach ulcer.
Wow, dude, that is hilarious. That is hilarious.
So it turns out it was like 6 times spicier was the
Now,
issue. But
I like spice, so that wouldn't necessarily bother me at all, but that's just funny, man. That is really funny.
yeah, I thought it was absolutely delicious. Can't go wrong with the Doritos. Was there a favorite food that you had while we were out there?
Man, there was so much. I'll tell you what, Mitch brought those buffalo steaks. I mean, seriously, buffalo steaks were pretty daggone good. I mean, I like the fajitas. The next morning we did eggs and bacon, and Todd brought some stuff for breakfast burritos, and that was good. But I think the buffalo steaks, and I gotta give you some props, man. The Oreo balls, those were good.
Oh, shout out to my beautiful wife, Bridget.
Yep.
We were up pretty late making Oreo balls, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't start packing for this trip until Thursday at like, I don't know, 4 o'clock. So that meant that we had to stay up late packing them. You got some good comments over there?
Oh, Mike Durbin says, normally when we get together and hike, I lose weight. This trip, I actually gained weight. Steak, fajitas, breakfast burritos, ATOD chili, bison, and Oreo bombs. So, yeah, that was some good stuff right there. And then we got a couple people saying that it's Chipotle peppers. And it was both Brian Winburn and Edward Baborian, who said Chipotle's in adobo, and adobo are smoked jalapenos. So,
it's like the same thing?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's a smoked jalapeno. So,
Okay.
But they're good, man. I love it. I love Chipotle peppers. They're really good.
Man, I don't know if you saw my lunch while we were out on trail on Saturday.
I did see your lunch. Actually, I wish I had video. I've got video of it that I'm putting in the actual video. I didn't think to put that in here for this, but you had the bougie food, man. Look over. Jeremiah's got a fresh salad and like these fancy crackers and hummus, like red pepper hummus. I was like, dang, dude, you're not messing around on this trip.
The tomato and basil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Felt like I was the healthiest one out there, but
hey, I was pretty dang on healthy, dude. I had Chinese food.
Well,
I had teriyaki beef jerky.
I did see you grab 2 packs of beef jerky. I said, this is what this guy's eating for lunch is 2 packs of beef jerky.
Like 0 to no fat. Like it's like maybe a gram or 2 of fat. And like it ends up being like 60 grams of protein.
Yeah, that's true. And probably the healthiest thing out of everything we ate was
the salt's way over the top though. So I probably got a heart attack from it, but that's okay.
But if you subtracted off the butter that was put on top of the bison steaks, that was probably the healthiest. Just the slices of steak. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mitch.
Yeah, we had some good food, man. There wasn't any bad food. And I I really was glad that we got Jeremy to actually relax and just have some fun and not feel like he had to do everything. Because he put the whole trip together, got everybody lined up. He was the go-to, like, for everything, you know?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it was good to give him a break for Friday night because he deserved it. He deserved it.
Yeah, and he really thought ahead to make sure everybody had accommodations. One awesome accommodation that I loved, and I had these big plans. I don't know if I've told anybody this yet. This is kind of embarrassing, but I'll tell it anyway here, okay? I said I'm going to bring a towel, body, like the whole 9 yards. I'm going to get cleaned up. We're at a campground. Let's go, baby. So
Right.
I woke up early on Saturday, just like I would at home. So I'd have enough time for coffee and breakfast and a shower and all of it. And then I got all my stuff packed up. It was kind of chilly, but I made the walk over to the showers from my campsite. Pretty good walk, by the way, because my campsite wasn't right next to you all. And when I got over there, I went in the first door and I got totally undressed. I got everything hung up, and I'm a pro at this, bro. And I'll tell you why. It's because on the Camino, I use the same loadout to shower every single day. So I know exactly hanging everything, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So all this efficiency, get in there, standing there, totally in my birthday suit in the shower, hit the green button, nothing. Hit the green button, nothing. I look at the shower. There's no knobs on the shower. It's just a spigot coming out of the wall with a green button below it. And I say, well, I already paid for this campsite. Do I have to pay for the shower too? And I hit the button. Knobs are not on the shower or anything. So there's nothing to adjust. There's nowhere to put in a token. There's no knobs to turn. And so I say, well, it's not worth it to me. I just put on my clothes like I was going backpacking, and then got everything packed up and walked back to the campsite. At this point, I'd wasted 20, 30 minutes. I brushed my teeth, washed my face, done the usual, took me a little bath with my baby wipes. And then I get back to the campsite, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm not showering. And then the next day, I think I asked somebody before we left, hey, did you have to pay for the shower or what? And it was like, no, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I went in there and it wouldn't work. And he's like, oh, I did the same thing. Did you go in the first door? I said, yep. He said, well, if you had literally picked any of the other 8 doors, then, you would have had a shower. All you had was nice and hot. One of the guys, like, I took a 30-minute shower in there, man. It was amazing. Best shower.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, man, that I'm laughing at this, but that's hilarious. That is hilarious.
That's my life, bro. That's my life.
That's funny. That is really funny. So let's talk a little about this trip, and let's compare like backpacking gear to off-roading gear, like for what we did, and let's kind of see what the difference is between the two, and if any of the gear that we would use backpacking would actually translate well to the other.
Yeah, I would say your sleep system is a no-brainer. Like the people that are doing the off-roading, everything is also space is premium.
Right.
So it seemed like our sleep systems work super well. I mean, I basically brought my backpacking loadout anyway because I was bringing the truck.
I did not. I went so bougie it was stupid. I had a full-size cot that I was sleeping on, and I had put a closed foam or a closed cell foam pad on top of the hammock or on top of the cot, and then over that I had another little mattress that I put over that. Now I did sleep with a quilt, but my pillow was actually the UGQ Quillo.
Oh yeah, that folds. It like tucks in to make a pillow, or you can use it as a blanket around,
right?
Like a synthetic blanket, or
right.
maybe damp. I don't know.
So I used an Outdoor Vitals top quilt, which kept me plenty warm. And then I used the UGQ Quillo as my pillow. And if I needed to, I could take it off, use it as an extra blanket, and then put something else back there for a pillow if I needed to. I brought it as emergency insulation just in case I may need it. So luckily I didn't stay on Saturday, so I didn't need it. But I would definitely say what you brought definitely translated well to backpacking. What I brought, absolutely no way you're taking that backpacking. I had a 57-pound tent. I had a 22-pound cot, and the rest of the stuff was like kind of backpacking stuff. So it was definitely, we were definitely what you would say are the polar opposites of what would be considered backpacking gear or camping gear.
Yeah, I got two things I want to share here.
I also
First,
had a propane heater in the tent.
oh, no, I didn't know
'Cause
that. I
for
didn't know-
Saturday night, I'd brought a propane heater because the entire top of the tent under the tarp is vented. So it was going to vent. I didn't have to worry about like killing myself with having a propane tank in there or a propane heater in there. So I brought it for Saturday night just in case I did spend the night. But obviously I didn't end up using it.
Did you bring a carbon monoxide detector?
No.
Yeah, I figured it wouldn't be necessary since your tent is so vented, but
Yeah, I wasn't worried about it. I could even open up some of the windows just to be safe if I really wanted to.
okay. I don't think Mr. Backpacking with Jason, sir, would mind me sharing this. He brought a look at that, David Cooper. If you spend as much as Jeremiah on your backpacking setup, I'd bring it car camping too. Touche, David Cooper. Touche.
He did ask an interesting question. Could you divvy up the tent for backpacking? Well, I mean, you could, but one person's going to end up carrying like 42 pounds and the other person's going to carry like 15 pounds. So either way, it's just way too heavy for that tent. I mean, it's an 8-person 2-room tent.
Yeah, where
And
would
it's a
you
hub
set
tent.
that?
It's a hub tent. It's not fitting in any backpack.
Yeah.
The actual packaging for it, the case for it and everything stands about 4.5 feet tall.
So Jason, he brought just a regular queen size air mattress like the Intex ones you buy at Walmart for 20, 30, 40 bucks.
And they are not insulated, by the way.
Well, that was the first thing I thought was after seeing it, I said, I've done this. This is how I've camped in the summer and it works great, but it's going to be a little chilly. And I've laid on an uninsulated, just regular backpacking pad, like a cheapie you buy on Amazon, and it was cold.
Yeah.
As we've talked about on here many times, the R value is important because the ground, it don't matter how warm your sleeping bag is, the ground will still suck warmth from you.
Yeah.
So I said, dude, I think you're going to be cold. You have, this is your layering setup for your sleep system. You have open air, you have metal because you're in the back of a truck, and then you have an uninsulated air mattress, and that wind's just going to blow under you all night. And then you have your backpacking quilts and sleeping bags and all that stuff.
Yeah. The only thing that would be different is if you were able to have like one of those caps on the back of your truck where you can open up a window into the cab and turn on the heat.
Oh yeah, that would work. But
that'd be a little different, but he didn't have that.
Yeah, he didn't have a camper top or anything. But yeah, I said what I would do if I were you is ask some of these other guys if they got an extra sleeping pad. He's like, oh, none of them's gonna have a sleeping pad. And I was like, bro, do you know who you're with? We all have 2 of everything. I mean, I was so I wasn't gonna bring a pad, but sometimes I'll bring a pad just in case, because if your hammock fails, at least you can sleep on the ground with the pad. So he did end up borrowing somebody's Nemo Tensor Alpine. So he stayed nice and warm. But his gear would not translate well to backpacking.
No.
Obviously the Nemo would, but the other one wouldn't. And then the other thing I wanted to share was, I'm telling you, number one piece of gear that translates from off-roading / overlanding / whatever you want to call it to backpacking. Number one is a paper plate.
Oh yeah, paper plate definitely does.
Woo, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, if you're backpacking, it's ultra light. You could even reuse it if you wanted to. I just bring extra.
It's a great fire starter.
Great fire starter. And if you don't believe in burning paper, then I guess you can just pack it out back with your poop and whatever.
Do people not believe in burning paper?
I don't know, bro. I don't know. There may be, I don't know. There's people say don't burn any trash, and that would be trash. So some people's pretty hardcore about that. Like,
that's wild to me, because I mean, what is paper? Where does paper come from?
Well, these Glad plates, I don't know what kind of chemicals and coatings and stuff they put on it. So I don't know. Some people are very, very anal about that thing. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'll burn all those.
I'll burn it. I don't care. I burn everything in the fire. Small children, animals. Like,
well, I don't know. But we We just got demonetized on YouTube.
Yeah,
as John saw.
we just lost the money off of this video, which probably wasn't gonna make much anyways. But so okay,
Yeah.
so now I will say, for me personally,
Mhm.
I went so far from backpacking on this trip on purpose. My family, we do a lot of car camping now, and for me, car camping means I don't have to go ultra lightweight, and I get to bring fun stuff like a Blackstone grill or a propane heater or a massive tent with 2 rooms in it, you know, or I can bring a cooler, a giant cooler full of soft drinks and another cooler with food in it. And I can cook real food. I don't have to get it out of a bag and rehydrate it. You know, for me, the one major difference I had in that trip was the fact that I didn't have to bring backpacking gear. Now, I
Mhm.
did bring some backpacking gear because I'm so used to just doing backpacking. This is the first time I've ever done off-roading. So I brought like my poop kit, and I brought my hygiene kit that I would normally bring with me. And I actually wore hiking boots. I actually wore waterproof ones because since we weren't hiking, I didn't have to worry about, you know, being out in the rain if it rained. So, this is a good question. Did you bring a projector for movie night? But that would have been a great idea.
You can get the pocket ones that hook up to your phone, so you
Oh,
can take
yeah.
them. Yeah, you can take them backpacking if you want.
We may have to do that next time.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Set a movie up. I know if it was a UK game, you and Jason would be all about it.
Well, we missed the game. It was at 1:00 while we were out in the woods, but that's okay. We lost by like 20 to Auburn, so
At least it's the number 1 team in the country.
yeah. And then they turned around and lost last night. So what are you gonna
Yeah.
do? That's the way it works. The guy that hits 9 threes against you goes 1 for 9 in the next game. But
Yeah.
I digress.
Well,
Um,
I have to tell you, we've had a lot of people making comments like this. This is probably the best one right here. The build up to poop talk with talking about the food is such a crazy build up. So with all that build up, Jeremiah, you said you had a great poop story to give with us today regarding your son. So before we close out today, why don't you share with us your little poop story with your boy?
Yeah, sure. I'll start it like this. It was a normal day. I was working. It was a normal day. I was working, and I received a phone call. And you know, when you receive a second phone call from your wife, you're like, "Well, this must be important. Otherwise, they would
Yeah.
have called me back." And usually, it's about daycare. And she called me, and I answered the phone, and she said diarrhea, and I said, "Okay, diarrhea." And she said, "The daycare, they won't take our son. He has diarrhea." And I said, "Okay, so what's the deal?" She said, "Well, the deal is I'm out of sick days and you have some. So we need you to go pick up the baby." This was Monday. And I said, "Okay." You know, today's Wednesday as we're recording this.
Yeah.
And I said, "All right." So I got coverage for my classes because I'm a teacher. And I headed on, picked up the baby, picked him up, and they said, "This kid, diarrhea. We can't have him for 24 hours because of all this diarrhea." And I said, "Okay." And I looked, and he had pooped twice. So I took him home, expecting all this diarrhea, just sitting around waiting for the poop while I waited for my wife to get home from work. And I keep waiting, and no poop. And so I put in for a substitute because I had to stay home for childcare, sick child. And I wait. The day continues. No diarrhea. I wait all day. He did poop 3 times, changed 3 stinky, poopy, nasty diapers, and no diarrhea. So yesterday, I stayed home all day with this sweet little baby boy, changing his poopy diapers. No diarrhea. Daycare won't take him. Send him today. Diarrhea. I said, "What is going on here, you guys? Are y'all giving my child diarrhea?" And they said, "I think you need to take him to the doctor." So we called the pediatrician and stuff, and they said, "Yeah, it's probably the food. Maybe you're giving him too much baby food or something." I don't know. We're first-time parents. But Richard said, "Just so you know, this was this was much nicer conversation, LOL." Yeah, I might have spiced it up a little bit, but I say in exchange for the 3 poopy diapers that I had to change yesterday, I did get to spend a nice, loving day with my son yesterday playing hooky from work. not on purpose. I really wanted to go. My students were like, "Your baby sick again?" I was like, "Yeah, sorry, couldn't be here." But on the trail, the poop game, man, did you win?
I won 100%.
No.
It's like Devin. Okay, listen, I'm going to pull this up from earlier because this is the best. Right here it is. Overlanding, off-roading, or butthole pucker stories, not poop stories. Dude, I'm telling you what, there are a few of those spots, it plugged me up because I was just like freaking out about these areas we were going to go down and like these places we were going to hit. It was crazy, dude. And honestly, I didn't have to go the entire time.
With heated isn't it amazing? With heated bathrooms that were a short walk away, neither of us had to poop. And I'll tell you what, dude, Sunday, I got a coffee on the way home. I said, "Oh, the stew's brewing, but I'm going to wait till I get home where I have this porcelain throne."
Yep.
Where it was so funny seeing David Gray's reaction to hearing about the bidet, like having a bidet at the house.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, the conversation that we were having for those people that heard it on the podcast about the bidets last week or the week before, we somehow just picked up exactly where we left off on the podcast and continued the conversation with a dozen or so people around the campfire. And yeah, I would heavily suggest everybody install a bidet at the house. Keep that bunghole nice and clean.
Yep. It was an interesting conversation, needless to say. That whole weekend was a lot of fun. And like I said, I'm actually going to be putting out a video for this one. I've actually got a video coming out on Friday, Jeremiah.
Oh, beautiful. This coming Friday. That's 3/7?
2 days
March.
from now. So whatever 2 days from today is. So I'm super stoked, man. It's the first time I put out a video in a while. It is a gear video. This one is. But I do have a trip video coming out. And I've also got a little video just kind of explaining what the heck's been going on the last 2 years for people that maybe don't listen to the podcast but have been a subscriber to the channel for years. So should be good. I got several videos lined up. It's wild. It's been a while since I've done that.
Well, I'm excited to see, man. Let the journey continue. And I've had a great time today hanging out and talking about this wild off-roading. I don't know what we need to call this. You're in charge of titling these episodes. Something like the anti-backpacking episode, how to bring everything or something like that. I don't know.
We just call it riding, rescue, and landscaping.
whatever you want to call it, bro.
But for myself and Jeremiah, thank you guys for tuning in. For all you people that are here on the live stream with us, we always love hanging out with you guys. Have a great one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Adios.